Well, I think this is where Hubert's Museum was, and it's interesting because it's Madame Tussauds, obviously a wax museum, but they have the good taste not to put wax museum up there. So this would have been this is a new facade, I think. Madame Tussauds, obviously a wax museum, but they had the good taste not to even use the word museum here. So that's good, I think, because this is Hubert's Museum, and there'll never be another Hubert's Museum.
Oh, okay. What else was the street like? What other?
Well, eventually it became a lot of drug dealing, like after the late 60s. There's a lot of drug dealing along here. Then the movie theaters started to disappear, and it got pretty bad, actually. There were just drugs and peep shows and stuff like that. But the Penny Arcade lasted for quite a long while over here. And the guy who did the musical glasses, Harold Smith, was there for a long time.
So what would you see what would you see when you walked up here? I mean, you just see some theaters that are gone now?
Yeah, well, this area was quite a theater row at one time. So there's like the Amsterdam Theater there, where the Lion King is, was a major, I think, one of Hammerstein's theaters, with a roof, a theater on the roof and everything like that. The only one that's really been restored as a theater that I know along here is the New Victory, which was the Belasco Theater at one time. But that was a burlesque house probably when Hubert's was at its highest. And they generally recognized that. But there was an attempt to clean up Times Square, and this is the result as of the moment. Really touristy, the biggest McDonald's I've ever seen, the Lion King, Champs Sporting Good Clothes, Madame Tussauds, whatever that is, maybe a wax museum. And then on this side, there was a museum gift shop, like from museums from all over the world. That failed. That's gone the way of the dodo bird now. And so there's like these Hello Kitty, it reminds me a little bit. I was in New England in the summer, and I went to LL Bean's, only to find out there's like 110 factory outlets in Maine now. So I got my Reebok shoes there too. This is very, very upscale, but I find it kind of obscene compared to the days when Hubert's was here, and you could get a hot dog for 15 cents.
We should have talked about, you said there was a golden era of the sideshow and things like that.
Well, that was probably before my time.
I understand that, but can you talk about, when did that wane?
Well, from what I read this morning on the internet, Hubert's Museum was formerly a very nice restaurant. And when Prohibition came in, I don't know exactly when that was, the restaurant went out and Hubert's moved in. Now, Keith thinks that it may have moved from down the block into that area. I'm not sure, but that would have been about 1925 that Hubert's would have started in this space.
That's like, it's got to be, that's where Peepland would have been. Yeah, Peepland was here.
Peepland would have been in that site eventually, yeah. From my time, a Penny Arcade on the upper level and Hubert's on the lower level. And then Hubert's closed in 1965, I know because I was there. And then the Penny Arcade continued for quite some time. And then I think they put in the peep show gradually, and then I think they renovated with a big peep show, and you could no longer really recognize that it was had been a Penny Arcade or Hubert's particularly. And then at some point after that, I remember the Cat in the Hat being painted across there. And then when that went, I think it was at least this looks like to me like a new facade and a new street number, because the 334, the 234 sounds okay for the street, because I'm pretty sure that was the address. The main thing I remembered is there were no windows on the second and third floor, because that's where the sign was that told you that Hubert's used to be there. And it was in the middle of the block, of course.
Can you give a list again of the people that performed there? just off the top of your head.
A list of people who performed there?
Talk about some of the people, the ghosts that are behind us.
Yeah, well, first of all, I performed there as Dutch from Amsterdam. My good friend Presto, the magician, performed there. Harold Smith, that did the musical glasses, performed there. And Andy Potato Chips, the midget, I saw perform there. And a number of others. I think Randy probably performed there, the armless, legless wonder who lit the cigarette by himself. And let me see. Joe Allen, the human corkscrew, was there. Contortionist.
Tell me a little bit about some of the tricks Presto would have done.
Well, Presto was an excellent magician. I've talked about him a lot, but I haven't mentioned his act. He did two major acts. One was a cigarette, where he did manipulation of cigarettes. He'd put them in his mouth and they disappear. In fact, he taught me one where I curled my lower lip and I took the cigarette into my mouth and blew the smoke and then brought it out just using my tongue. I don't know if I could do that anymore, and I don't smoke, but he could do amazing. What he could do basically is make the cigarette go in his mouth and then make it appear over here or something, and then back in his mouth. He was just flipping it in and out of his mouth. He besides being an excellent cigarette manipulator, he was a fantastic coin manipulator. He would do the miser's dream, which was, he always said, use these Kennedy $50. These Kennedy $50. And this is pulling coins out of the air, out of people's ears, or putting in front of their mouth and saying, cough, and coins falling down. Most of them are held in his hand, and he's just dropping them in, but it's just a big tin can and a bunch of Kennedy $50. And I think the dollars got stolen from him at a certain point, which is a very sad state of affairs. But
what was some of the crowd like that were coming to visit?
I think they were just curious people that were passing through Times Square. I didn't pay much attention to them. But it was just, ordinary people. Ordinary people walking by would go down there.
And was it the same acts 7 days a week, or were there certain times where they'd have a special show?
Once a week they would tend to change the acts, but not too drastically. There were people like me. I stayed there for the length of time I was there. Presto was often there. Andy Potato Chips was often there. So it was a steady job for a lot of people. But the idea was, I think you could go back the next week and it'd be a different show. In actual fact, I'm not sure that was really the case.
Can you talk? Is it possible to get a shot with a wider shot and have you say some of the same things?
Well, Hubert's Museum was right behind me, where you see Madame Tussauds now. The number was called 228 in all the documentation, but it also can be 234, which is where Tussauds is, and there's buildings there. This is the place I worked. The place that closed in 1965.
Maybe you could just say this was a year-round freak show known as Hubert's.
Yeah, Hubert's Museum, you could go and see a show any time of year, in the spring, in the fall, the summer, in the winter. Anytime you wanted to see the show, you could just go there and see it. And you'd see some maybe you've seen before and something you'd not seen before.
You think the street now is missing something, not having a sideshow, or just a
For
circus?
sure, yeah. Well, if you go far enough on the other side of Broadway, there is the Bindlestiff Family Circus, which is trying to recreate the Hubert's Museum situation, and doing a good job of it, I think. You can see a sword swallower there, you can see a blockhead there, and they don't do fire, but it's.
Yeah, I get you can stand up now. Yeah, I would not talk to us here. Okay.
Well, the centerpiece of Hubert's Museum was, of course, Professor Heckler's Flea Circus, and I never got the chance to see that. I imagine it closed around 57 or somewhere around there. My mother, the first time she came to New York, saw a flea circus, and she thinks it was on 42nd Street, and I think this was probably it. They do flea circuses today, but they're not really flea circuses. This was with actual human fleas. And I've seen it on television with shows like You Asked For It and things like that. But I never saw the actual flea circus. They did things like juggling balls on their feet, or waltzing, firing cannons, pulling carriages. Those were the kinds of things that I saw in the TV version of it. And Heckler used to use his own blood to feed them. And they didn't live very long. He had to have a new, like, he didn't name them the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, but each, like the one that did the foot juggling had a name and an understudy, and they would be replaced rather frequently.
And Professor, Harold Smith played glasses there.
Yeah, Harold was great. The first time I ever went there, he was there playing glasses. I had seen him in 1953 in the sideshow of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus in the Midwest under canvas. But he turned up here, and I also remember seeing him on the Kate Smith television show. And as far as I know, he only knew 2 pieces. He had a piece he played, and then an encore. And the encore was always Anchors Away. And I never saw him practicing. As far as I know, he played those by ear, and it was not really a musician.
It was glasses that he played, yeah.
But he also worked as a custodian. He swept up, and when the museum closed, he continued to dole out change and sweep the floor in the Penny Arcade. You could always find him there. A nice gentleman, Professor Harold Smith.
Yeah, it was great. Good. Thank you, Hovey.
Okay.
This is cool. Eddie B-roll and yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
That's cool.
You're good.
All right, go ahead.